Coming up on this week's episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast, Will and I review the 2008 DC animated movie Batman Gotham Knight. Stay tuned. More to come after this. I'm Richard.
And I'm Will.
And together we're
The Irreverent Nerds. Bum, bum, bum.
Hey nerds, Richard here, asking you to consider supporting this podcast. If you go to our website, anchor.fm/irreverent nerd, right there on the top of the page is a support button. Click on that, and then you can select the level at which you would like to support us. You can do 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or even $9.99 a month. And as I've said before, if you agree to do $9.99 a month, Will come to your house, give you a hug and a kiss. No, not really. Just kidding. But you will definitely receive our gratitude. So, take a minute today to go on there and let us know that you love us. Because, we're desperate for that. So, just let us know. Thanks, nerds. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Nerds. We're here sitting on my couch. And Will and I have just finished our watch party it's just the two of us and my wife for a little bit, and my youngest daughter, who was basically just playing. So it was kind of a party. But we just watched the 2008 DC animated film Batman Gotham Knight. And for those of you that aren't familiar with it, Will's going to give a little intro here to kind of let you know what we're talking about.
Batman Gotham Knight. I'm confused by the Japanese name, but
just leave out the parentheses, I guess.
Okay. How about I wanted to say it? Okay.
Oh. Yeah.
So, is a 2008 animated superhero anthology film. Yeah, I'm sure I would have butchered the Japanese.
Batman Gasamu Naito, something like that.
That sounds right.
I'm not Japanese, duh. Anyway,
it feels
sorry.
right.
Introduced
feels
you.
right, Ryan. Feels right.
I interrupted you.
It's a 2008 animated superhero anthology film based on the DC Comics superhero of the same name. The film consists of 6 segments produced by Japanese animation studios 4 Degrees Celsius, Madhouse, B-Train, and Production IG, in association with DC Comics and Warner Brothers Animation. Set between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, these segments in the film depict Batman battling against the mob of Gotham City, as well as other villains. Although stated to take place within the Dark Knight trilogy, the producers have acknowledged that the plot from the anthology is not necessarily integral to the main story told within the films. The shorts are written by Josh Olson, David S. Goyer, Brian Azzarello, Greg Rucka, Jordan Goldberg, and Alan Burnett. Although all use Japanese anime art styles, each segment has its own writing and artistic style similar to other DC Universe works and the Animatrix. However, some segments are connected, giving it the nickname the Batimatrix.
Yeah, and this came out probably not too long after Animatrix. Would have been maybe within a couple of years or so, in like mid to late 2000s. So
all 6 segments of the anthology film star Kevin Conroy, reprising his voice role as Batman from the DC animated universe.
Yeah, and as we go along, we're going to introduce each of the 6 segments and talk about them. So we'll discuss like who directed each one and which studio produced each one. I want to go through the voice acting cast here a little bit, because DC animated films, I have to say, always have good voice acting, and I think so much of that is attributed to Andrea Romano. Going all the way back to Batman the Animated Series, she has been the casting director for so much of the DC animated universe and continues to be. And in fact, in this film, she even voiced a couple of characters.
Oh, cool.
I'm not sure which two. I think it was one in two different vignettes. But the cast here includes Kevin Conroy, Crystal Scales appears in vignette number 1, Alana Ubach in number 1, Corey Padnos in number 1, Scott Menville in both 1 and 2, George Newbern in 1 and 3 through 5, Hynden Walk in number 1 and numbers 5 through 6, Jason Marsden, numbers 1 through 2 and 5 through 6.
Marsden?
Yeah, I think
Didn't he play Sonic the Hedgehog?
That I don't know, but I know he did the voice of Goofy's son in the Goofy movie. I know that much. I remember that back in the day. Let's see. Anna Ortiz was in number 2 and number 4. Corey Burton, a prolific voice actor, by the way. This dude has been in, like, look at his IMDb sometime, like hundreds and hundreds of cartoons, movies, like, and often he'll do little small parts. He doesn't do a big part too often. But yeah, you see him all over the place. Rob Paulson as well, another prolific voice actor. He's in numbers 2 and then 4 through 5. Jim Meskimen, Gary Durden, Pat Musick, Andrea Romano appears in vignettes number 2 and 6. Will Friedle, Kevin Michael Richardson, Brian George, Parminder Nagra, and David McCullum. So, just a little background of how I'm trying to remember the sequence of when I first saw this film. Now, as you mentioned, Will, like it takes place in between, so it's actually canonical, believe it or not, for the Nolan films, which is interesting.
Believe it or don't.
Yeah, because I don't think they've done that
Copyright.
with anything else where they have an animated film that, I suppose the Animatrix would be similar because it's considered canonical within the Matrix universe.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I think. I mean, it fleshes out the universe more.
I admit I haven't seen the Animatrix.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should check it out. It will remind you of this, and they were made close together, obviously both by Warner Brothers, or both with the involvement of Warner Brothers. So probably, I would imagine this one got greenlit in part because of the Animatrix, although I may be wrong about that.
It was a really decent film. This anthology, I mean, it's a really decent anthology.
Yeah, no, I remember thoroughly enjoying it back when it first came out, and I had a happy surprise. Like, I wasn't expecting this, but I was looking at McKay's for another Batman graphic novel, looking for something that grabbed my attention, and I saw Batman Black and White, and as I was perusing through it, which this is a really cool graphic novel, by the way, because as the title would suggest, it's done in black and white, and it's similar, which is probably the reason they included Gotham Knight with it, is that was a surprise. Like, in the back there was a copy of both the DVD and the Blu-ray of Batman Gothic Knight, but black and white is similar in that there are different artists and writers, so like each story has a different comic book artist and writer. So different art styles throughout the book. Really good. Highly recommended, by the way. But yeah, so that's how I got this particular copy. But I think I did own a copy. Oh no, that's right. I owned it on iTunes back in the day. Back on my old account, which I have lost, sadly. So I hadn't watched it in a long time. And I think, Willie, you said you had not seen it in a long time either, right?
If you've seen Richard's iTunes, please call this number. I'm kidding.
I put a bit of content on that too. That was like when I first got an iPod. I don't know if you remember that. Like, I got one of the, not the earliest generation, but when they started getting a little bigger, like the first ones where you could watch like a full like TV show on it. And yeah, I had one of those suckers. And
I think you had some Batman Black and White animatics or something on there too.
Yeah, it was like animated comic.
Yeah.
Really well done, by the way. The music and the narration, the voices were really well done. I want to find that again at some point because that was really good.
But yeah, I had seen Gotham Knights a long time ago.
Gotham Knight.
Knight.
Because the Gotham Knights is something different.
Yes, not to be confused with the video game or the CW show that may be canceled.
which I've not seen any of it. Have you? Have you?
No.
Okay, I haven't either. Heard of it. Anyway, so you saw it. I don't think I saw it. It looks like it was released the same summer as The Dark Knight, so most likely I saw it after. I know I saw The Dark Knight like 4 times in theaters, because yeah, it was so good. But do you remember if you saw it back around that time yourself?
I probably did, back when it was new. I think I enjoyed it a lot more this time through and understood it better.
Yeah, I think so too. And having read, which I must have picked up on it the first time around, but having read beforehand from Wikipedia that this is actually canonical and it takes place in between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, I was looking for connections, and they're definitely in there. Like even down to like one of the vignettes, takes place. Part of it takes place in the Narrows, which features prominently towards the end of Batman Begins, where Dr. Crane has released his poison gas, widespread panic. All the inmates of Arkham, I think, are let loose, and things get a bit crazy. So, but yeah, one of the vignettes takes place near there and in that, so that's cool. Do you have anything else you want to say before we jump in and start talking about the segments?
No, I think I'm ready.
Well, cool. All right, so segment number 1. It's titled "Have I Got a Story for You?" This one was animated or produced by Studio 4 Degrees Celsius, and it's written by Josh Olson. And let's see, does it specify who directed it? It does not. So it doesn't specify that. So I'm going to rewind a little bit and just mention the direct. Okay, here we go. We have to go back to a different section here. This is directed by Shohiro Nishimi for Studio 4 Degrees Celsius, or 4C, however they prefer to say that. So to kind of set it up, like a street kid meets his 3 friends at a skate park, and his 3 friends have all had an encounter with Batman that day. So they are telling their story, and each story, they feel like they have to one up themselves. So each one of them gets a little bit more legendary and a little bit more mythical. Each one of them adds like a fantastic element and an exaggeration of reality, and I liked it. I thought it was really cool because that kind of evokes like the mythos of Batman, the legendary character, the ideas of like him being a symbol and people telling stories around that. And but then at the end of the segment, the one character who hasn't had an encounter gets to encounter the real Batman and actually gets to help him, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that's how the first segment goes. So, what did you like or didn't like about it?
Well, it's very reminiscent of at least one episode of the Batman animated series, which had a similar plot of stories of, I think Batman's like this, I think Batman's like that. This one draws from, and I'm pretty sure it does draw from some comic book interpretations of Batman. For example, the first kid's depiction of Batman seems to draw from the comics where Batman is a vampire.
Well, I think the first kid is like the living shadow. I think I wrote it down. Yeah, so he's like a shadow, like disappears almost into the ground and like moves along the ground, and then pops back up.
Maybe I was looking too far into it, but I thought maybe it drew inspiration from some of the comic book interpretations.
Well, his face does look a little more bat-like with the first kid, but then the second kid is the one that he's like legit a flying bat. So he looks almost like full bat, or
He looked
man,
like the Mothman.
like yeah, exactly, the Mothman. Which is funny. I was just watching a documentary about the Mothman yesterday. Yeah. But yeah, the Mothman, or like a little more twisted version of the Man Bat from
Right.
the animated series. Although he's like all black, so pretty creepy. And then the third one? He essentially is seen as a robot. It's like you all don't know what Batman really is. Like he's a robot.
I was starting to try to figure out if that was based on Frank Miller's depiction where he's in the big suit fighting Superman, but then I decided, no, I'm really just looking too far into this now.
Yeah, no, I think it was more of just like the producer, the director, where it was like, it's like this kid decides to, because his movements are so precise, and it's like, why wouldn't you think it? Somebody's like, oh, maybe he's a robot. But,
True.
well, you mentioned something which I couldn't quite tell. So, but you mentioned something like when the first villain in that one appears, you raised the question of like, is this connected to the League of Shadows?
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out who that villain is. Is it a character from the comics? Is it? I mean, my first thought was it's connected to Batman Begins, but we did end up seeing some other villains from the comics, so I wasn't sure. They did. Okay, when they unmask him, is that the same guy that in the second vignette? Is that the same guy that Batman brings to Commissioner Gordon, or is that a completely different character? Because I think they do mention his name in the second vignette, but I'm not sure if that's the same guy or not. I assume it is, but
It's a good question. I actually don't know, because I don't they don't ever mention his name in the. Actually, he doesn't get unmasked in the first one. I don't think he unmasked the
no,
villain.
not in the first one. I guess it just depends on whether or not there's a connection between that rooftop robber, and the long-haired guy that Batman brings to Gordon in the second vignette. I'm not really sure if it's the same character or if it's completely unrelated.
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
they're different. Yeah, because the second character, he's like a, what they call him, not technocrat, but like, he had worked for the Russian mob, but like, actually no. Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure now. But no, since the first guy never gets unmasked, you don't really know. But yeah, his dress, because he's all black and he's wearing goggles, is like
Yeah.
somewhat ninja-like, which the League of Shadows had a little bit of that going on, at least when they were up at the training facility and stuff. Like, although they had body armor on top of like I don't know if real ninjas have body armor. Do you know?
Well, I think they have some chainmail under their kimono, but that might just. I'm not sure if that's historical or if that's just manga, anime, artistic liberty.
Were there
But it
real
would
ninjas?
be.
That's another question. Like I'm assuming you would know that.
Well, yeah.
There were. Okay.
There were real ninjas. I mean, they didn't. They used sleight of hand tech tricks. They didn't use magic like in anime manga, but
Yeah, like. Well, so like,
they have their own mythos and legends, that have sprung up. Um, if they had armor, it would have been very lightweight.
Yeah, because they
underneath their
need to be able to move
clothing.
quickly and with
Yeah.
agility. Makes sense.
It's been a long time since I've studied.
So it could be this is just like a generic ninja character, or it might just be more of it's just a generic bad guy, and this is how the kids pictured him, perhaps. Or he was just wearing black to cover himself up. Although he does try to rob people in the middle of the day.
Yeah, when that happened,
So.
that was kind of dumb, actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
Great. Where he was at, I mean, he was trying to rob them at the top of a skyscraper. So it's like, where are they gonna go? So, of course, then where's he gonna go? Is he gonna maybe he has a parachute? But it didn't get that far because Batman catches up with him.
Dressed all in black during the day is almost as bad as Naruto dressed in bright orange. I don't care what time of the day it is. You're bright orange, kid.
I have a prison jumpsuit. Oh. So I thought this segment was a cool beginning because it does kind of, it starts with that mythos, the legend of the bat, which I think gets talked about in the comics and throughout the series, is that something that can be carried on. It doesn't have to be carried by Bruce himself. He could die and someone else could carry on the mantle, so to speak, because it's a symbol, and it's not just Bruce Wayne. It's bigger than him. I liked that. So segment 1, have I got a story for you? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I liked it. I think it was the most stylistic animation style of the whole anthology. It was a lot of fun to look at.
I just had an idea. Since we're nerds, nerds are known for using computers. Instead of 2 thumbs up, because that's probably copyrighted.
Is it copyrighted?
It might be. I don't know, or trademarked maybe. Might be trademarked.
We'll do maybe
2 index fingers up. So
what?
2 index, because I'm not gonna do this.
That happened.
It did.
You saw it.
Yeah.
Unless you're
for
listening.
the video viewers, I just flipped off the camera. So, anyway, on to segment 2, Crossfire. So, Crossfire. And by the way, our main source for this, as typical, is from Wikipedia, which they get their info from usually quite a few other references and sources. This one was written by Greg Rucka, who also was... Actually, no, he was not involved with Batman Begins, but Greg Rucka wrote a novel that I really like, Batman No Man's Land, which I highly recommend. If you ever... I need to get my hands on it again at some point, but yeah, if you get a chance to pick it up, a copy of that, do so. And he's been involved in quite a bit of writing for DC Comics as well. So this is animated by Production IG and directed by Futoshi Higashide, however you say that. So with this one, we get introduced to, they call him here Crispus Allen. Ramirez refers to him as Chris Allen. Were you familiar with his character at all? Did that ring bells for you? It did for me.
No, I assume he must be in the Dark Knight trilogy, but is he in the Dark Knight trilogy?
I don't think he makes an appearance in there. I'm trying to think if I've... I know I've read a story where he figures prominently. I don't think I have it with me. But he later, at least within certain iterations, he later dies and becomes a different character, which this might say.
By the way,
the Spectre. He becomes the Spectre.
Huh.
Yeah, like after his death. So I read another.
The Green Spectre?
I think he's just called the Spectre. But
no, I mean with the green costume. That Spectre?
Possibly. But no, when I saw him, I was like, oh. But yeah, I don't think he's in either Batman Begins or The Dark Knight, so it's interesting. And he doesn't die within the course of these segments. So yeah, maybe he just dies before The Dark Knight, because he's not working with Ramirez in The Dark Knight.
No.
So maybe he died before that. But anyway, he at some point becomes Spectre, so I recognized the name. I was like, oh.
Yeah, Crispus Allen.
But we start with, like with this segment, we start with, I think it starts on his face, and he's sitting there kind of angry and watching what's going on in Jim Gordon's office. He knows the Batman's in there. Ramirez comes up and he's like, he's in there again, And we get the pretty quickly feel that Chris Allen doesn't like Batman. He thinks he's just a vigilante. He's abusing. He shouldn't be allowed to do what he's doing. But we find out throughout the course of the segment that Chris also recently transferred. Like, he's not originally from Gotham. He didn't grow up in Gotham like Ramirez does. So she defends the Batman. She's like, hey, I know he's changed things for the better. I've seen it because I grew up here. I knew what it's been like. And he's changing things. She's like, whereas he's still very suspicious of the Batman. But they are given a prisoner, which Batman has caught for them, and then they have to then transport him to, I believe it's Arkham Island, I guess, at that point. But as they're coming back, they get caught in the crossfire between the Russian and his gang, or mob, I guess, and Sal Maroni and his cohorts, and they're trying to kill each other, basically. And Ramirez and Allen get caught in the middle.
I don't remember. Was Sal Maroni in the live-action Dark Knight trilogy?
I'm trying to remember.
Because I definitely know he figures heavily in the comics and the animated series. Well,
yeah, he's in the Dark Knight, I believe. Like,
oh, cool.
He's he's the guy that Batman drops off the ledge, and he like breaks his foot, and later on, like, he gets shot and killed by Two-Face.
Okay.
And yeah, like, I forget the name of the actor who plays him. It's not he reminds me of Peter Coyote, but it's not Peter Coyote. It's somebody else. But yeah, I believe he is in the Dark Knight, but I don't think he makes an appearance in the final film. Oh yeah, because he's dead.
Right.
Yeah, Two-Face kills him as part of his streak of vengeance. But yeah, he does. I think he gets mentioned. I want to say he gets mentioned in the Batman Begins, but he doesn't make an appearance because Carmine Falcone is the main gangster in that one. What do you think of the animation style for the second segment?
It was interesting. I liked it. It wasn't as fun to look at, in my opinion. Since I'm a cartoonist, I go for more cartoony things. It wasn't as interesting to me visually as the first segment, but I am curious what other anime or animations each of these studios has worked on.
Well, let's take a look at Production IG real quick, just as an example.
So they did the second one, right?
Yeah. So Production IG Incorporated is a Japanese animation studio and production enterprise founded in 1987 by Mitsuhisa Ishikawa, and is headquartered in Musashino, Tokyo, Japan.
Because I feel like some of the more realistic animation styles in this anthology might have been by studios that did some pretty famous things.
Television series: Zillion, Blue Sea, Papalaqua, Monogatari, Metabots Tamashi, Vampire Kids, Parappa the Rapper, Ghost.
Parappa the Rapper.
Oh, here we go. Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
Yes, Ghost in the Shell.
So
that's
pretty big.
Pretty big.
I mean, I know what it is, so that tells you it's big.
Parappa the Rapper was a PlayStation video game, by the way.
Yeah, they also have been involved in video games. Cromartie High
cool.
School, Windy Tales, Otogi Joshi. I'm not seeing anything else I recognize, but that's a big one there that that I have heard of. Ghost in the Shell Arise, Alternative Architecture is 2015. Joker game. Here we go. Psycho-Pass 3. True Cooking Master Boy.
And I did recognize Studio 4C's animation style. They did Tekkon Concrete, which I used to own.
Is that a TV show, movie, video game?
Oh, it's a movie.
Movie.
Two boys involved the Yakuza. I forget.
Okay. Yeah, and that's one of the cool things about this film is that each segment is done by a different animation director, so you have the unique animation style. I found that really interesting back when I first watched it, so I like that. And so yeah, with Crossfire, like they get caught in the middle, and then of course Batman comes and saves what's left of the day. Like most of the mob people there are already dead, but he comes in and prevents any further bloodshed and saves Chris Allen's life, which obviously the beginning of maybe some trust being built there. And then we get, I think, then he knows of Ramirez. You know, they talk briefly there at the end. He's like, you're on Jim Gordon's team, right? MCU. It's like, he's a good judge of character. And he leaves. So it's like Batman like gives her a compliment, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
A Batman compliment.
By the way, speaking of Batman talking in this anthology, obviously we're really big fans of Kevin Conroy, but that's not what Batman sounds like in the Dark Knight trilogy. How do you feel about the disconnect since we don't have the heavy smoker Batman?
Well, I loved that. I mean, Kevin Conroy will always be my Batman, I think. I mean, I've certainly enjoyed other performances, but he's my Batman. So I love that he got involved in the film. So I didn't really care. Christian Bale probably wouldn't have wanted to do it anyway, but I didn't. Although I could be wrong, but he has done some. That's right. He did the English dub for Howl's Moving Castle. Or wait,
he did?
Did it even have a dub?
Yeah, it had a dub.
I mean, was it written to be in English, or was that a dub? Anyway, he voiced the dub version, I guess.
Yeah.
He did the main character, Howl, I guess. I'm assuming
cool.
It's Howl. So he has done some anime. So I don't know, maybe they didn't ask him. Maybe it was just more like animated Batman is Kevin Conroy's gig.
Well, Bruce Timm was the executive producer, so he may have been biased.
Oh yeah, and Andrea Romano obviously is the voicing director, the voice caster, and you know, Kevin Conroy's her boy. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's.
Well, personally, I prefer Kevin Conroy over Christian Bale anyway.
Oh yeah, same here. Like the whole like, swear to me. I felt a little bad for Christian Bale because like he was trying to do something different. It's definitely distinctive and memorable for sure, which maybe that's its own merit in some ways. But then he was stuck with it after doing it in the first film. You know, so if he had second thoughts, it was too late. At that point, he had to continue it throughout the trilogy. But that's one thing though, people don't forget it. So
yeah,
you know, if you want to be remembered, that's the way to do it. Well, let's move on to the next segment here. Field Test. So Field Test was written by Jordan Goldberg and animated by B-Train. So let's see. Just checking out B-Train to see if there's anything I recognize that they've worked on. Again, I'm not an anime aficionado, so... And I don't see anything that I recognize, so nothing huge, at least, huge enough to catch my attention. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to read a bit of the summary from Wikipedia. An accident involving a new Waycom satellite's gyroscopic electromagnetic guidance system gives Lucius Fox an idea to create a device with the satellite's gyro with an advanced sound sensor that will electromagnetically deflect small arms fire.
Oh, and sorry, not to backtrack, but they did Arc the Lad and the .hack/slash series.
Are those pretty well known within the anime community?
Blade of the Immortal. Anyway, I would think so. I've definitely heard of them anyway. But moving on.
Yeah, well, here's what we definitely got another tie-in to Batman Begins. Here is we get Lucius Fox, not voiced by Morgan Freeman, obviously voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson instead. But it was cool to see some communication between him and Bruce, and I liked, like, it felt similar to kind of the banter that went back and forth between the two of them in Batman Begins, and the rest of the trilogy too. You know, where Lucius Fox is, you know, kind of coyly pretending not to know, you know, and Bruce is kind of coyly pretending, you know, not to be Batman, even though both of them know.
And they're both standing by the Batmobile.
Yeah. So I thought that was fun, though. I liked that because that dynamic was in the other films too.
So Bruce Wayne, we have Kevin Conroy voicing Bruce Wayne, and as we all know, his voice changes when he's Bruce Wayne. But did you think that he was doing his normal Bruce Wayne, or do you think he actually made this Bruce Wayne sound a little younger?
It did sound a little younger.
I thought so too.
And it was a little different too. It was like a little lighter touch on it, I felt like, than at least in the animated series Bruce Wayne. So it did seem like he was trying to change it up a little bit. Because Bruce Wayne is essentially Kevin Conroy's. It's very similar to Kevin Conroy's normal voice from like the early '90s. Like if you, like when we saw him on Cheers and whatnot, you heard him. I was like, oh, it's Bruce Wayne. You know, it's closer to his regular voice. But yeah, it did seem like he was deliberately and obviously he's supposed to be younger here. I mean, I guess he'd be 27, something like that, 26 thereabouts, because he left when he was 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And then was gone for 7 years, and then came back. So this is taking place maybe when he's 27, 28, somewhere thereabouts. But guys, we're gonna pause for a minute. One of my kids needs something.
Hello nerds, this is Alfred Pennyworth. I want to take a moment to talk to you about the Irreverent Nerds podcast. If you can, you should support it. Go to anchor.fm/Irreverent Nerds, click on the support button. You can support them for 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or $9.99 a month. And if you support them for $9.99 a month, Bruce Wayne himself will come and give you a hug and a kiss. You can count on it. You could also get in touch with them. That's another way you can let them know that you support them. Tell them what you think of their episode. On Spotify, you can participate in polls, you can give comments, you can also comment on the YouTube channel, on Instagram, DM them on Instagram, follow them on Instagram. All of these things are ways that you can let them know that you care and that you support their work. So, pick one of them. They would greatly appreciate it. Now back to the show.
And we're back. we were talking about Bruce Wayne, how he sounded younger. I thought he also looked younger in this particular animation style. I think I wrote a note. This is Pretty Boy Bruce.
Pretty Boy Bruce.
It's kind of got that anime pretty boy look that certain styles use. Which, this one's done by B Train. But yeah, it definitely reminded me of some other animes that I've seen. You have that kind of the floppy hair, the messy hair. They look like they're out of a Korean boy band or something. Well, maybe not, but
I wonder if that's a popular hairstyle in Japan or if it's just
popular with anime. I don't know. It's a good question. I have noticed that a lot of the anime characters, even when they're supposed to be Japanese, look kind of American sometimes. It's interesting.
That one's probably just an artistic liberty.
Yeah. All right. Well, so with that one, like he continues his involvement in the field test vignette with interfering with the Russian and Maroni, and they're fighting over like who controls what, like one, and he basically settles it for them. He's like, you will make a choice, like you're gonna get the docks and you're gonna get this, until I find something on you I can put you away, basically. It's like, and in this, like, he has that device that Lucius Fox made for him where it literally like causes the bullets to ricochet off of him, so like further excuse me, heightens his mythos. Although one person accidentally gets shot as a result of it, so then he decides not to keep it, which I was like, okay. She's like, I'm gonna risk my life, no one else's.
Interesting. I definitely like
which doesn't really fit because he's like driving over cop cars and stuff in Batman Begins.
Yeah, that's true.
Which he does get called out for that by, was it Alfred? Or
and he does this is completely off topic because we're not talking about Batman Begins, we're talking about Gotham Knight, but I've always had an issue with him being like, I can't kill you, but I don't have to save you. Jumping off the train. No, Batman, you killed him.
Yeah. Semantics.
Semantics.
But did he really kill him? No. Probably. He doesn't come back. Oh. Other than a vision. Alright, so let's move on to vignette number 4. In Darkness Dwells. This one was written by David S. Goyer, who also wrote for all 3 of the Nolan films, and is animated by Madhouse. You want to take a look at Madhouse, see if you recognize anything they've worked on while I talk a bit about what happens in this. So there's a riot in a cathedral where Cardinal O'Fallon was giving a sermon. According to eyewitness testimony, the cardinal was abducted by a large monster and taken down into the crypts below the cathedral. So Batman's going in there to try and save the day, basically. And in the process, he runs into Killer Croc, who he finds out is like pumped full of Scarecrow's fear toxin. Croc bites Batman, and Batman thus gets infected with the fear toxin, but he's able to work through it. He's experienced it before, but he finds Scarecrow. It's a really interesting scene because like the crypt is massive. It almost looks like a cathedral itself, but a cathedral of death. And Scarecrow there has amassed a group of Arkham Asylum escapees and homeless people, almost like a cult leader in a sense. Using fear, So I thought maybe it's somewhat ironic. He then, for some reason, abducts a cardinal, like a Catholic cardinal. Wasn't completely clear why he did that. But regardless, Batman comes and then is able to save the cardinal. from harm. But this one, like the animation style with this one was definitely more exaggerated. I felt like.
Yeah.
Did you see anything else that you recognize that Madhouse has done?
Oh yeah. They've done Hunter x Hunter. They've done Vampire Hunter D, Card Captor Sakura, Metropolis, Ninja Scroll. They worked on the Animatrix. They did a few Marvel animations like Iron Man and Avengers Confidential. So they worked on quite a few things. I'm sure some of this stuff is. I've definitely heard of all those things I listed. I'm sure that they've done more things that really hardcore anime lovers will recognize more so than me.
I imagine their work on the Animatrix is probably part of what got them this gig.
That makes sense.
I'm just imagining that it would be, given that this is also Warner Brothers production. But yeah, I thought particularly their animation of Killer Croc, was very exaggerated. Like he almost looked a bit like that, which I don't know if this was deliberate in any way, but a bit like that very creepy character that lives in the sewers in that one X-Files episode. It's so creepy. It's like this giant leech almost, but it's like a anthropomorphic leech. Oh my goodness, one of the creepiest X-Files episodes ever. But his mouth reminded me of that. It was almost like this big oval, almost like you waiting for him to like suck out your brains or something instead of biting you.
I have to correct myself because if I don't, the anime lovers will. It's not Hunter x Hunter. The X is silent. I was been previously corrected on this. So
Just
it's just
Hunter
Hunter. Yeah, Hunter.
Because that makes sense. Why put the X in there then?
I don't
know. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Corey Burton did Dr. Jonathan Crane, but he doesn't talk a whole lot in there. Rob Paulsen plays Mole Man.
Rob Paulsen, his name is familiar.
He did Chucky's dad on Rugrats, if that rings a bell. Like,
cool.
But he's been in a lot of other things. I think he was in Jimmy Neutron. I think he played
where,
Carl in Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm recognizing his name from. Is Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of other things too. He's pretty prolific.
And while you're looking at that, I figured out the Marsden situation. James Marsden plays in the Sonic movies. Jason Marsden plays Silver the Hedgehog, Sonic's marijuana leaf-headed cousin.
So both Marsdens have been involved in the Sonic franchises at different points. Huh. Okay.
The Sonic fans will understand the joke I just made.
Oh. I guess I'm not a big enough Sonic fan. I played it a lot growing up, but I don't get the joke.
Silver the Hedgehog has quills in the shape of a marijuana leaf on his head.
Oh. Okay. Is that from one of the TV series?
No, that's from an awful 2006 video game.
Oh. Yeah, see, I didn't play much past the 90s, so... yeah.
You were spared.
I played a lot on Sega Genesis, like Sonic the Hedgehog 2, 3, Sonic and Knuckles, and then obviously the original as well. Like a little bit of Sonic Spinball, can do without that. My sisters liked it. All right, we're getting a little long on time, so let's move on to the next vignette. Okay. Oh yeah, it does kind of look like a marijuana leaf.
Yeah.
Like a.
We'll never leave that
or
one
not
down.
a marijuana, cannabis.
That's it.
Let's see, the next one is Working Through Pain. This one is written by Brian Azzarello and animated by Studio 4C, or 4 degrees Celsius. So I liked how I liked the narrative structure in this one, where you had the foreground where, and I don't know if it was meant to be an injury from the previous segment. It seemed like it was different. He got looked like he got stabbed. It was either stabbed or shot. And at one point he cauterizes the wound, and he's like working through pain, trying to get to a point where Alfred can pick him up.
Yeah, I was confused about the wound. It seemed like the wound moved. I thought Killer Croc bit his shoulder, but maybe he sustained a new wound in the explosion.
Yeah, I think this is different. Like, I think this, and he doesn't have the fear toxin in him, so this is probably just a different day, different event.
A different day?
Yeah, I don't think it's meant to be like continuous in that sense. Chronologically, it happened after probably, but like it might have been like weeks after. They don't really say.
He was lost in the sewers for weeks.
Well, no, I think he ends up in the sewers quite often. Like, but yeah, that was a little confusing at first because like, is it supposed to be continuing from the other story? But then you're like, no, it doesn't quite fit. But he has flashbacks, like as he's struggling through the pain and walking. He has flashbacks to the 7 years, I think, where he was training abroad and looking for wisdom and looking to learn things. So he goes to, they don't really say what country it is. I don't know if fakirs are a real thing or if that was made up.
I feel like it's real, but
let's see, fakir.
Or it's based on something that's real.
Okay, it's an Islamic term traditionally used for Sufi Muslim ascetics who renounce their worldly possessions and dedicate their lives to the worship of God. They do not necessarily renounce all relationships and take vows of poverty. Some may be poor and some may even be wealthy, but the adornments of the temporal worldly life are kept in perspective and do not detract from their constant dedication to God. So he's in the Middle East, volunteering with the Red Cross, but he's also there to learn from the fakirs, and in particular how they manage pain. So I guess these are the people who like lie on beds of nails and stuff like that, like ascetics, and like chain themselves. So then he's rejected by the official group, the fakirs, because they claimed, which seems to be true, like he was dishonest about his true intentions.
Right.
You know.
He was not seeking
enlightenment, or at least not the type of enlightenment that they were thinking of.
He was not seeking religious enlightenment.
It's like, no, he wanted to be able to manage pain so that he could fight better. Which by the time the woman who does train him, who's a bit of a reject, but had learned the fakir way, by the time she realizes that's his real reason, she's like, get out, I have failed you. What do you think of that segment? I liked it.
I really like it. I've always enjoyed the flashbacks in various Batman stories.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I thought that it went back to the period where he was going abroad and training and stuff. I thought that was cool. It give us more detail about that. But no, it makes sense that he would seek help with that, like given what he was thinking of doing. Like it just made sense. I think I wrote something down that she said, was it, pain doesn't work for you, you work through pain. And so yeah, he learns how to manage both exterior and interior pain, although she realizes she can't help him with the deeper pain, you know, which obviously comes from the death of his parents. And I think that takes us to our final vignette. Do you have anything more to say about that one before we move on?
Not about the anthology itself, just in general. It's been explored before that if Batman ever were to be able to find healing from his parents' death, he would no longer be Batman. I just felt like bringing that up. It's a very interesting point.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Um, yeah, I think he says towards the end of the next segment, the final segment, to Alfred, it seems like I've been trying to stop those two bullets all my life.
Yeah.
You know, like just willing himself back in time to stop that. And so it's like, and that's one of the features of trauma. I mean, obviously, 10-year-old boy sees his parents gunned down. There's going to be like severe PTSD. And one of the aspects of trauma is that when you experience something horrible like that and you're powerless to stop it, whether that's you're physically being restrained or whether that's just you don't have the ability to stop what's happening. You're stuck in a sense. So you can, remain stuck in that the rest of your life in some sense, and there are going to be things that trigger you and like pull you back into memories of the trauma, and you're like literally reliving what happened, and your body mimics many of the same physiological symptoms that you had when you were first going through it. So it's like the memories can be very visceral as well. But for him, it seems like the way which he says to her is like, I manage it. I manage the internal. And for him, like, one of the ways he does that is eventually by becoming Batman. So yeah, I think I agree with what you said, that if he were to ever really heal from it, he wouldn't be Batman anymore. The final segment is called Deadshot. It was written by Alan Burnett and animated by Madhouse. So it looks like Studio 4C and Madhouse both had repeats. They each did 2 of the segments. Oh, and this one, there is a through line here where, like, the end of the last one, the Working Through Pain, he finds like a bunch of guns.
Yeah.
That have been tossed down a drain, and it just like hits him, because of what they've been used for, or what he imagines they've been used for. It's almost like this will never end kind of feeling.
Yeah.
It seemed like, and so he still has them in the next one, and that's kind of used as like a segue in a sense to Deadshot. But yeah, what do you think of this one? Are you very familiar with the character Deadshot? I know he's in the Suicide Squad, right?
Yeah.
Like the Suicide Squad, like the newer one by James Gunn, right?
No.
Or
yes.
is he the?
I can't remember.
I always get confused. There's 2 different characters, right? There's Deadshot, and then there's another character that's similar.
Deadeye. Bloodshot.
Bloodshot.
Bloodeye.
Bloodshot sounds right. I think he's the one in the second Suicide Squad.
Right.
So Deadshot is the one in the first Suicide Squad.
I'm pretty sure.
Played by Will Smith. Anyway, he's one of those 2.
Bloodsport. Was it Bloodsport? Bloodshot.
Bloodsport sounds right.
I think so.
That sounds more right.
But I'm pretty sure Will Smith played
Deadshot.
Deadshot.
Yeah, in the first Suicide Squad.
Yeah. But I'm somewhat familiar with the character. I think that in the anime, they have him looking and dressed a little bit differently. He's more of a gangster. He wears the Italian suit and hat, and that's not something I'm used to seeing him wear.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a kind of like.
I feel like he could have worked in a live action.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed with, at least with the way it ended. As you get introduced to him, like he makes this
seemingly impossible shot, like while he's moving on a Ferris wheel, fires a shot to a building, like, whatever, how many yards away, thousands
Yeah.
of yards away, a kill shot through the head. And I think, didn't he kill at least one other person in between? I forget. But that's like a crazy shot, and then he's hired by people connected to the Russian to take out Batman, although you're not told at first that it's Batman.
Right.
There's a little bit of a misdirect in there, as in the word gets out on the street that there's a hit that's been put out on Gordon. Then we find out pretty quickly that that's fake, that Deadshot put that out. I mean, he does take a shot at Gordon, but he put that out there just to flush out the Batman, because his real target is the Batman.
And I was wondering the whole time how the police even found out about the hit, but I think once the misdirect twist is revealed, it's pretty obvious that Deadshot wanted the police to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was done on purpose. But then he goes all stupid. I was like, he's so good with a rifle, but then as Batman's coming towards him, it's like, why wouldn't you just take another shot with the rifle? That would go right through Batman's body armor, but instead he pulls out this dinky little, I mean, it's not totally dinky, but like this little wrist gun, like semi-automatic handgun, which is much less accurate, and starts like spraying bullets at Batman, which most of which bounce off his body armor. So it's like, it didn't make sense. To me, it kind of diminished his character a bit. Like, it almost made it too easy for Batman.
It's called plot armor, Richard. Plot armor.
I didn't like that as much. I didn't like the way they ended it. It felt a little weak. But it's okay. So I think that segment was probably my least favorite of the 6. Primarily for that reason. I think it just doesn't end well. It's
right.
Just, his character is weakened by.
I agree about that.
The way they choose to end it. Yeah. So I thought it just wasn't as good.
I can see how using a sniper rifle wouldn't be the wisest choice in a close range combat, but at the same time, your point is extremely true and valid. I think they did it just so the animators could show that really cool scene where Batman slices his wrist pistols in half.
I was reading a bit about the reception of this film when it came out. So as of October 2021, the film holds a 75% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see. Looks like it also got reviewed on World's Finest. Not sure what that is, but film sold over 337,000 copies on DVD in the United States and earned $9,753,000 from domestic home video sales. It looks like it was packaged together in some sales packages with episodes from Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, really? Cool.
And it was 2015 when it got paired with Volume 1 of Batman Black and White. I haven't watched the special features yet. There's Batman and Me, the Bob Kane story, and A Mirror for the Bat. And an audio commentary of the film by Greg Novacek, Dennis O'Neil, and Kevin Conroy. Oh, cool. Apparently this also got a novelization written by Louise Simonson, released actually before the film did, in May of 2008. Oh, that's cool. The bat suit from Field is kind of trivia. The Batsuit from Field Test appears as an unlockable alternate skin under the name Anime Batman Skin in Batman Arkham Knight. It's
Cool.
originally unlockable by linking WB Play account to the game.
Well, which skin unlocks though? Because his costume changes in each segment.
That's the one from Field Test.
Field Test. Okay.
Yeah.
You did just say that.
I did. So yeah, so overall, I think I would give this, I think I would give this 4.5 nerd hats. What say you, sir?
I don't know, about the same. Maybe a 4 out of 5. Due to the fact that Kevin Conroy's in it, and I almost want to say I like it more than the Dark Knight trilogy films, but at the same time, I guess that would be irreverent.
Well, we are the irreverent nerds.
Yes, but I'm gonna have to watch the Dark Knight trilogy again. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I haven't watched it all the way through in quite some time either. I don't think I've ever, I mean, definitely never in one day, but like I've never sat down within the course of like a week and watched all three back to back to
Yeah.
back. I don't know if I've ever done that.
I will say that based on my memories of the Dark Knight trilogy, I don't really feel like this anime film anthology really fits into it. But that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, it's an interesting choice, like, but I guess, like I said, maybe it was inspired by the Animatrix, where, you know, it expands on the world of the Matrix, the live action, but it's just its own thing as well, you know, even though it is canonical in a sense. But yeah,
And
I thought it was kind of cool idea.
You know, now that I think about it, most of the villains are kind of weak in this anthology. We focus mostly just on Batman. I'd have to say that, given that the Dark Knight trilogy, I'm sure, is better. I mean, I especially liked the Dark Knight Rises with Bane, but
Yeah, I thought
definitely like Bane.
Tom Hardy was great.
Yeah.
I thought.
But I think the most fleshed out villain of this entire anthology probably was Deadshot, because we actually spent some time with Deadshot to build it up. The anticipation of him fighting Batman.
It's true.
But we don't. There's not much build up for Killer Croc. We just, some name drops.
Yeah, not a lot, and then Scarecrow.
He disappears.
Scarecrow's already been established by Batman Begins,
Yeah.
so like, and Maroni, they kind of just drop him in there. So I don't think he was in Batman Begins. I think he does get mentioned, I think, at some point, but yeah, they don't really give a whole lot of context for Maroni either.
So I really love Kevin Conroy's performance yet again. But maybe because this film was split up in segments, maybe that hurts the writing somewhat to make it more cohesive.
Yeah, that is, you gotta enjoy it for what it is. I mean, with the each some interconnectedness, but the unique vignettes, like, or episodes. It's almost like little episodes of a TV series, in a sense. But yeah. Yeah, you don't have a single narrative arc, if you will, story arc that continues throughout. Somewhat, but yeah, it's different. Well, I think we've gone on long enough. You can tell we both like Batman, and as a subject we've come back to quite a few times over the course of our podcast, and I'm sure we will again. Sadly, I did hear recently that the sequel to The Batman, Matt Reeves' The Batman, isn't coming out until 2025.
Oh, well,
I was like, damn it.
At least it's coming out.
At least it's coming, yes. But I would have loved for it to have been next year, or even this year, like December or something. But I guess that's hoping for a little too much, especially with the big changing of the guard that's happening right now at DC.
studios.
I heard recently, I think I sent you the web link for the article, but James Gunn had them reshoot the ending of The Flash because they're not using a lot of those actors anymore and actresses.
Could be, or reshoot it with different actors, maybe.
Yeah. But, yeah.
I'm looking forward to that film. It's coming out in March, right?
I
think.
A lot of changes coming to the DCU, whatever it's called now.
Yeah, like even a Swamp Thing movie, apparently. Which I imagine our friend Dan Johnson will appreciate. He just seems like someone that would like Swamp Thing.
Probably.
Seems like up his alley. I think I've mentioned it. I think. For some reason, I just had a flashback to this really old Disney live action show from like the 60s that Leslie Nielsen was in, called Swamp Fox. Yeah, it's based on a true life character, Francis Marion, but the theme was like Swamp Fox, da 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 da. So for some reason I'm like,
I've never seen
my brain was like Swamp Thing, no 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 no.
You have to do it now. Someone on YouTube has to animate this.
See, I'd have to come up with some lyrics. Swamp Thing, hiding in the swamp. It's interesting what the brain does. Excuse me. Well, guys, it's late on a Thursday. We're gonna wrap this up. We need to go to bed. You guys won't hear this until next Wednesday, obviously. But thank you for joining us for this week's episode. And as we sat down and combined two of our loves, anime and Batman. So, live long and prosper, nerds.
We will see you next time. Same bat channel, same bat time.
Same bat channel. Robin, I think it's time to go.
Holy ending, Batman.
One of my favorite, one of the ones I always remember. Holy cookbook, Batman. It's the episode where they had a giant cookbook. I don't know if it's the Riddler or the Mad Hatter that made it, but it's like he just comes to, he's like, "Holy cookbook, Batman."
I have no idea. It doesn't really sound like either one's MO.
Actually, it might have been like an evil chef or something.
It probably was. The baker and his evil dozen.
Evil dozen. Oh yeah, the baker and his dirty dozen. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys, we're out of here. Peace. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast. And a special thank you to Will and Richard for coming back again. Yeah, no guests this week, but that's okay. We had a good time. And next week, Will and I will be back once again for the Movie of the Month review. This time, it is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania. So don't miss our review coming next week. In the meantime, if you'd like to get in touch with us, our Instagram handle is @irreverent_nerds. Please give us a follow there. You can also DM us if you want to let us know what you think of our episodes, give us ideas for future episodes, or even ask whether you can be a guest on the podcast. Why not? Just get in touch with us there. You can also leave us a voice message, which we will include on the following week's episode. You can do that by going to our anchor.fm profile. It's anchor.fm/irreverent nerd. Right there on the front page, there's a button that says message. Click on that and you can leave us a voice message. You can also support us from that same page for as little as 99 cents a month. There's also a $4.99 a month and a $9.99 a month. Okay, $9.99 a month tiers. You get the idea. You can support us there, and we'd be very grateful if you would do that. And thanks again to our monthly supporter, Lars DeCenza. We would love to have more. And eventually, if we get enough, we will transition probably to a subscription format where we will begin having exclusive content for subscribers only. So, hey, there's some incentive, right? You can also follow us on Facebook. We have a fan page there, simply called The Irreverent Nerds. And of course, on YouTube, we are now posting regularly. Once a week, we are posting the video version of the previous week's audio episode, putting it up on YouTube. Also, from time to time, I put up some shorts that we've downloaded from our Instagram page. So check us out on YouTube, and of course, subscribe, like, comment. We would really appreciate it. Until next time, nerds, have a good day and week and year. This is Batman, signing off.